Mother Bear pointed her snout at the life flight helicopter. What happened next was shocking. Let us know where you're watching from. If you love my content, consider supporting it with a super thanks. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help us to remain in touch with amazing people like you. The helicopter blades cut through the morning air with a thunderous roar that echoed across the Rocky Mountain wilderness. Dr. Marina Whitfield gripped the metal rail inside the life flight aircraft, her knuckles white as she stared down at the dense forest below. 23 years of emergency medicine had prepared her for many things, but nothing quite like this remote rescue mission. 2 minutes out, pilot Jake Reeves called over the noise, his weathered hand steady on the controls. The helicopter banked left, following the GPS coordinates that had been radioed in an hour earlier. Somewhere in that maze of pine trees and rocky outcroppings, a hiker named David Chen lay injured, possibly dying. Marina's partner, paramedic Samuel Torres, was already checking their equipment for the third time. His usual calm demeanor seemed more tense today, and Marina couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about this call. The coordinates had come from a park ranger who claimed to have spotted the injured man from a distance, but radio contact had been spotty ever since. There, Jake pointed ahead. I can see the clearing. As they approached, Marina noticed something odd. In the small meadow where they were supposed to land, a massive brown bear stood perfectly still, its snout pointed directly up at their approaching helicopter. The animal wasn't running or hiding like most wildlife would. Instead, it seemed to be watching them, waiting. That's unusual, Samuel muttered, pressing his face against the window. Bears don't usually stick around when they hear helicopters. Jake circled once, hoping the bear would move away, but the animal remained in place. Its dark eyes never left the aircraft, and its snout stayed pointed toward them like some kind of bizarre compass. Marina felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with the mountain air. We can't land with that bear there, Jake said, his voice crackling through the headset. It's too dangerous. But as they circled again, Marina spotted something that made her heart race. About 50 yards from the bear, partially hidden behind a fallen log, she could see a flash of bright orange, the color of a hiker's jacket. David Chen was there, and if the ranger's report was accurate, he was badly hurt. There's our patient, she called out, pointing. We have to get down there. The bear hadn't moved an inch. If anything, it seemed more focused on them now, its massive head tracking their movement through the sky. Marina had seen bears before during mountain rescues, but never one that acted like this. Most bears were predictable. They either ran away or showed signs of aggression. This one was doing neither. Something's not right, Samuel said, voicing what they were all thinking. Look at its posture. It's not threatening us, but it's not leaving either. Jake attempted another pass, dropping lower this time. The bear's ears twitched at the increased noise, but still it didn't move. Marina could see more details now. It was a female, probably around 400 pounds, with thick brown fur that rippled in the downdraft from their rotors. We're going to have to try a different approach, Jake said, pulling back up. Maybe we can land further away and hike in. But as he spoke, something caught Marina's attention. The bear had moved, but not away from them. Instead, it had taken several steps toward where David Chen lay motionless. Marina watched in fascination as the animal lowered its head, almost as if it was examining something on the ground near the injured hiker. Wait, Marina said suddenly. Look at that. They all stared as the bear lifted its head again, this time making a low sound that somehow carried over the helicopter noise. It wasn't a growl or a roar. It was something else entirely. Something that sounded almost like, "Is that bear trying to communicate with us?" Samuel asked, his voice barely audible over the headset. Marina had been wondering the same thing. In all her years of wilderness medicine, she had never encountered anything like this. The bear's behavior was unlike anything she had studied or experienced. Its eyes seemed intelligent, purposeful, as if it was trying to tell them something important. "Take us down to that ridge," Marina decided, pointing to a rocky outcropping about 100 yards away. "We'll approach on foot from there." Jake nodded and maneuvered the helicopter toward the landing zone. As they descended, Marina kept watching the bear. It had returned to its original position, snout pointed toward their aircraft, but now it was also glancing frequently toward the spot where David Chen lay. The moment their skids touched the rocky ground, Marina felt the weight of the situation settle on her shoulders. They were in the middle of nowhere, with an injured patient and a bear that was behaving in ways that defied all logic. Samuel was already grabbing their medical kit and portable stretcher, but Marina found herself hesitating. "This doesn't feel like a normal rescue," she said quietly. Samuel paused, meeting her eyes. "You feel it too?" She nodded. After working together for 5 years, they had developed an instinct for when something was about to go very wrong. This was one of those times. As they prepared to hike toward David Chen, the bear remained motionless in the meadow, its dark eyes watching their every move. Marina couldn't shake the feeling that this animal was trying to tell them something crucial, something that might change everything they thought they knew about this rescue mission. The morning sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the wilderness, and Marina Whitfield had no idea that the next hour would challenge everything she believed about the natural world. Marina shouldered her medical pack and took the first step toward the meadow, her boots crunching on the rocky terrain. The bear's head turned slightly at the sound, but it didn't move from its position. Samuel followed close behind, carrying the portable stretcher and additional medical supplies. Jake remained with the helicopter, ready to start the engines at a moment's notice if they needed a quick evacuation. "Stay about 10 feet behind me," Marina whispered to Samuel as they approached the tree line. "If that bear charges, don't try to be a hero. Just run back to the helicopter." Samuel nodded, but Marina could see the concern in his eyes. They had worked together long enough to know when the other was truly worried, and right now, they both were. The bear's behavior was so unusual that neither of them could predict what might happen next. As they got closer to the meadow, Marina could see David Chen more clearly. He was lying on his side, partially hidden behind the fallen log, his orange jacket torn and dirty. She could see blood on his clothes, but from this distance she couldn't tell how badly he was injured. What concerned her more was that he wasn't moving at all. The bear suddenly made that strange sound again, the one that had puzzled them from the helicopter. It was a low, rumbling noise that seemed to come from deep in its chest. Marina had heard plenty of bear sounds during her years working mountain rescues, but this was different. It almost sounded like the animal was trying to form words. "Did you hear that?" Samuel whispered. "Yeah," Marina replied, stopping at the edge of the clearing. "I've never heard a bear make a sound like that before." They stood at the forest's edge, about 60 yards from where David Chen lay motionless. The bear was positioned almost exactly between them and their patient, as if it was guarding him. Marina studied the animal's posture more carefully. Its ears were forward, not pinned back in aggression. Its stance was alert but not threatening. Most importantly, its eyes kept shifting between the rescue team and the injured hiker. "It's like it's trying to tell us something," Samuel said quietly. Marina was thinking the same thing, but it sounded crazy even in her own mind. Bears were intelligent animals, but they didn't try to communicate with humans. They certainly didn't position themselves as if they were protecting injured people. She took another step forward, and the bear's head snapped toward her. For a moment, Marina's heart stopped. She was sure the animal was about to charge. Instead, the bear took 2 steps toward David Chen, looked back at Marina, and made that strange sound again. "I think it wants us to follow," Samuel said, his voice filled with amazement. Marina wanted to dismiss the idea, but she couldn't ignore what she was seeing. The bear's behavior was too deliberate, too purposeful to be random. Against every instinct she had developed during years of wilderness work, she took another step forward. The bear waited until she moved, then took another step toward David Chen. When Marina stopped, the bear stopped. When she moved again, it moved again, always staying between her and the injured hiker, but clearly leading her in that direction. "This is impossible," Marina muttered, but she kept following. As they got closer, she could see that David Chen was unconscious, his face pale and his breathing shallow. There was a significant amount of blood on the ground around him, and his left leg was bent at an unnatural angle. But what really caught Marina's attention was something else entirely. There was a second set of tracks in the soft earth around David's body, smaller tracks, cub's tracks. "Samuel," she said quietly, "look at the ground." Samuel crept closer and saw what she was pointing at. The small paw prints were clearly visible in the dirt, along with spots of blood that were definitely not human. "There's an injured cub somewhere," Marina realized. "That's why the mother bear's acting this way." The pieces were starting to fall into place, but the picture they formed was unlike anything Marina had ever encountered. Somehow, David Chen and a bear cub had both been injured in the same area. The mother bear wasn't just protecting her cub, she was trying to get help for both of them. As if reading her thoughts, the bear made that strange sound again, but this time it was different. Softer, more urgent. Then it did something that made Marina's heart skip a beat. The bear walked over to David Chen and gently nudged him with her snout. Not roughly, not aggressively, but with the same careful touch Marina had seen mother bears use with their own cubs. David moaned softly, but didn't wake up. "She's been watching over him," Samuel whispered, his voice filled with awe. "She's been protecting him." Marina felt tears forming in her eyes. In 23 years of emergency medicine, she had seen countless acts of human compassion and bravery, but this was something else entirely. This was a wild animal showing mercy and intelligence that challenged everything she thought she knew about the natural world. The bear looked at Marina again, and this time Marina could have sworn she saw something like hope in those dark eyes. The animal took several steps away from David, giving Marina space to approach, but never taking its eyes off the injured man. Marina knelt beside David Chen and began her assessment. He had a severe head injury, possibly a concussion, and his left leg was definitely broken. He had lost a significant amount of blood, and his pulse was weak but steady. She estimated he had been unconscious for several hours, maybe longer. "We need to get him to the hospital immediately," she told Samuel. "Radio Jake and tell him to prep for immediate takeoff." But as Samuel reached for his radio, they heard a new sound, a weak, pitiful crying that was definitely not human. The mother bear's head snapped toward the sound, and she let out a low whine that was filled with such obvious pain that Marina felt her chest tighten. "The cub," she whispered. The crying was coming from a cluster of rocks about 30 yards away, partially hidden by overgrown bushes. The mother bear looked at Marina, then at the rocks, then back at Marina. The message was clear. There were 2 patients who needed help. Marina looked at Samuel, seeing her own internal struggle reflected in his eyes. They were trained to help humans, not wild animals. Their priority had to be David Chen. But the bear had been protecting him, possibly for hours. Could they really just ignore her injured cub? "We can't leave the cub," Samuel said quietly. "Not after what she's done." Marina nodded, knowing he was right. She had never treated a bear cub before, but she had veterinary training from her early years in school. If the cub's injuries weren't too severe, she might be able to help. "Stay with David," she told Samuel. "Monitor his vitals and prep him for transport. I'm going to check on the cub." Samuel looked like he wanted to argue, but he knew better than to question Marina when she had made up her mind. She had a reputation for taking calculated risks that often saved lives. Marina approached the rocks slowly, very aware that the mother bear was watching her every move. As she got closer, the crying became louder and more desperate. When she finally saw the cub, her heart broke. The little bear was wedged between two large rocks, its right front paw clearly broken and bleeding. It was much smaller than she had expected, probably only a few months old. Its fur was matted with blood and dirt, and its eyes were wide with pain and fear. "Hey there, little one," Marina said softly, using the same gentle tone she used with frightened children in the emergency room. "I'm going to help you." The cub tried to back away but couldn't move because of the rocks. Marina could see that it was trapped, probably had been for some time. She looked back at the mother bear who was still watching anxiously. "Is this how it happened?" Marina asked the mother bear, knowing the animal couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone would convey her intention to help. "Your baby got stuck, and the hiker tried to help." As if in response, the mother bear made that strange sound again, but this time Marina could almost hear the word "please" in it. Marina carefully examined the space between the rocks. The cub had somehow squeezed itself into a gap that was too narrow for it to back out of. Its injured paw was preventing it from pushing forward. She would have to widen the gap somehow. "Samuel," she called, "I need you to bring the hydraulic spreader from the helicopter, the small one." "What?" Samuel called back. "The cub is trapped between rocks. I need to widen the gap to get it out." There was a pause, then Samuel's voice. "Marina, are you seriously going to perform a technical rescue on a bear cub?" "Yes," she replied without hesitation. "Radio Jake and tell him what we need." While they waited for the equipment, Marina tried to comfort the frightened cub. She spoke to it in soft, soothing tones, the same way she talked to scared children. Gradually, the cub's crying subsided, though it continued to watch her with wary eyes. The mother bear had moved closer, positioning herself where she could see both her cub and David Chen. Marina realized that the animal had been torn between protecting her baby and watching over the injured hiker. The emotional weight of that decision was something Marina understood all too well. Jake arrived with the hydraulic spreader, looking skeptical but determined. "I've seen a lot of crazy things in my years of flying rescue missions," he said, "but this is definitely a first." "How's David?" Marina asked as she took the equipment. "Stable, but critical," Samuel reported. "We really need to get him to the hospital soon." Marina nodded and turned her attention to the rocks. The hydraulic spreader was designed for car accidents, to separate twisted metal and free-trapped victims. She had never used it on rocks before, but the principle was the same. As she positioned the spreader, the mother bear moved even closer, watching intently. Marina could feel the animal's anxiety, and it matched her own. If she made a mistake, she could injure the cub even more seriously. "Easy does it," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. She activated the spreader, and slowly, very slowly, the gap between the rocks began to widen. The cub whimpered, but didn't try to move. Marina continued applying pressure until there was enough space for the little bear to squeeze through. "Come on, baby," she said gently. "You can do it." The cub looked at her, then at its mother, then back at Marina. For a moment it seemed frozen with indecision. Then, with a small cry of pain, it pushed itself forward and tumbled out of the rocks into Marina's waiting arms. Marina had handled injured animals before, but holding the bear cub was unlike anything she had ever experienced. The little creature was surprisingly heavy, and its fur was incredibly soft despite being matted with blood. But what struck her most was the way it looked at her, not with the wild fear she expected, but with something that looked almost like trust. The mother bear let out a sound that could only be described as relief, and Marina felt tears running down her cheeks. She quickly examined the cub's injuries. The broken paw was the most serious problem, but there were also several cuts and bruises. Nothing that couldn't be treated, but the cub would need veterinary care. "We need to get them both to help," Marina said, looking at her team. "David needs a hospital, and this cub needs a veterinarian." "Both?" Jake asked. "Marina, we can't transport a wild bear in a medical helicopter." "We're not leaving this cub," Marina said firmly. "Not after what its mother did for David." She looked at the mother bear, who was now standing very close, her eyes fixed on her injured baby. Marina made a decision that went against every protocol she had ever learned. "We're taking all 3 of them," she announced. Jake stared at her as if she had lost her mind. "Marina, that's impossible. We can't transport a 400-pound wild bear in a medical helicopter. It's against every safety protocol, not to mention probably illegal." "Then we'll find a way to make it work," Marina replied, her voice steady despite the chaos of emotions swirling inside her. She looked down at the injured cub in her arms, then at the mother bear who was watching her with those intelligent, hopeful eyes. "This bear saved David's life. She's been protecting him for hours, maybe all night. We don't abandon our own, and we don't abandon those who help our own." Samuel was quiet for a moment, then spoke up. "There might be a way. The cargo bay in the back of the helicopter is separated from the cabin by a metal barrier. If we could secure the mother bear back there—" "Are you both insane?" Jake interrupted. "Even if we could somehow get a wild bear into the helicopter, which we can't, what happens when we land at the hospital? Do you think they're going to roll out the red carpet for a family of bears?" Marina was already thinking ahead. "Dr. Sarah Chen at the veterinary college. She's David's sister. I've worked with her on wildlife rescues before. She could meet us at the hospital and take care of the bears while we handle David." "Wait," Samuel said suddenly. "Did you say David's sister? Sarah Chen is his sister?" Marina nodded. "She's the one who reported him missing. That's how we got the coordinates so quickly. She said David was researching bear behavior for some kind of documentary project." Jake rubbed his forehead. "This just keeps getting stranger. So the injured hiker is a bear researcher and his sister is a veterinarian who specializes in wildlife." "It's not a coincidence," Marina said quietly, pieces of a larger puzzle starting to fall into place in her mind. David was studying these specific bears. Something happened up here. Something that injured both him and the cub. The mother bear had been listening to their conversation with what seemed like remarkable patience, but now she moved closer to Marina and the cub. She made a soft huffing sound and gently touched her baby with her snout. The cub made a small chirping noise in response. "She trusts us," Samuel observed. "Look at her body language. She's not showing any signs of aggression or fear. It's like she understands that we're trying to help." Marina had been thinking the same thing. The bear's behavior continued to defy everything she knew about wild animal psychology. Bears, especially mother bears with injured cubs, should be extremely dangerous in this situation. Instead, this one seemed almost cooperative. "There's something else," Marina said slowly. "When I was examining the cub, I noticed something strange about its injury. The break pattern on the paw doesn't look accidental. It looks like it was caught in something artificial." Samuel frowned. "Like what?" "I don't know. Maybe some kind of trap or snare. And if David was studying these bears, maybe he discovered something he wasn't supposed to." Jake was still shaking his head. "Even if all of that is true, it doesn't change the fact that we can't transport a wild bear in a medical helicopter. The insurance alone would—" His words were cut off by the sound of another helicopter approaching from the south. They all looked up to see a second aircraft heading their way, this one larger and painted in the colors of the Forest Service. "Who called for backup?" Marina asked. Jake was already on his radio. "This is Life Flight 72. Who is the incoming aircraft?" A voice crackled through the static. "Life Flight 72. This is Forest Service Ranger Tom Bradley. We received a call about a medical emergency and possible wildlife interference. What's your status?" Marina felt a chill that had nothing to do with the mountain air. She grabbed Jake's radio. "Ranger Bradley, this is Dr. Whitfield. Who exactly called you?" There was a pause before the response came. "Anonymous tip about an hour ago. Caller said there was a dangerous bear situation that needed immediate attention. We're equipped with tranquilizer guns and transport cages." Marina looked at Samuel, and she could see the same terrible understanding in his eyes. Someone had called the Forest Service to report a dangerous bear situation, someone who didn't want the bears to survive. "Jake, we need to leave now," Marina said urgently. "Get David loaded into the helicopter. Samuel, help me figure out how to secure the mother bear." "What's going on?" Jake demanded, but he was already moving toward David Chen. "Someone set this up," Marina explained quickly. "David was studying these bears, and someone didn't want him to finish his research. They probably caused the injuries to both David and the cub, then called in the Forest Service to eliminate the evidence." The mother bear seemed to sense the urgency in Marina's voice. She moved closer to the helicopter, looking between Marina and the approaching aircraft. Her posture had changed from calm to alert, and Marina could see tension in her muscles. "She knows something's wrong," Samuel said. "Look at how she's reacting to that other helicopter." The Forest Service helicopter was getting closer, and Marina could see it was equipped with external cargo hooks and what looked like animal control equipment. If they landed, the bears would be tranquilized and removed, probably never to be seen again. "The cargo bay," Marina said decisively. "We're going to try it. Samuel, get David stabilized for transport. Jake, open the rear cargo area." Jake looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Marina's tone stopped him. He moved to the back of the helicopter and opened the cargo bay doors. The space was larger than Marina had expected, with tie-down points for securing equipment. The real challenge was going to be convincing the mother bear to get into the helicopter. Marina approached her slowly, still holding the injured cub. "I know this is scary," she said to the bear, her voice as calm as she could make it. "But we need to leave. That other helicopter isn't here to help." The mother bear looked at the approaching aircraft, then at Marina, then at her cub. Marina could almost see the decision-making process happening behind those intelligent eyes. "Come on, Mama," Marina whispered. "Trust us one more time." To everyone's amazement, the mother bear walked over to the cargo bay and sniffed at the opening. She looked back at Marina, made that strange sound again, and then climbed into the helicopter. "I don't believe what I just saw," Jake muttered, but he was already moving to secure the cargo area. Samuel had David Chen loaded onto the stretcher and was hooking up IV fluids. "His vitals are stable, but we really need to get him to surgery." Marina climbed into the helicopter with the cub still in her arms. The little bear had been remarkably calm throughout the entire ordeal, as if it somehow understood that these humans were trying to help. "Where are we going to put the cub?" Samuel asked. Marina looked around the cabin, then made another decision that went against every protocol she knew. "With us, I'll hold it during the flight." Jake started the engines as the Forest Service helicopter continued its approach. Marina could see figures inside the other aircraft, and at least one of them appeared to be holding what looked like a rifle. "Life Flight 72. This is Forest Service. Please maintain your position. We need to assess the wildlife situation before you can proceed." Jake looked at Marina, who shook her head firmly. "We're leaving now," she said. Jake nodded and lifted off immediately, banking away from the meadow as the Forest Service helicopter tried to intercept them. Marina watched through the window as the other aircraft changed course to follow them. "They're pursuing us," she told Jake. "I know, but we've got a head start and this bird is faster than theirs." In the cargo bay, the mother bear was surprisingly calm. Marina could hear her making soft sounds, probably trying to comfort herself and communicate with her cub. The little bear in Marina's arms seemed to be responding, making small chirping noises back. "This is incredible," Samuel said, monitoring David's vital signs while watching the interaction between Marina and the cub. "It's like they're talking to each other." Marina was thinking the same thing. The sounds the bears were making weren't random animal noises. There was a pattern to them, a rhythm that suggested actual communication. Her radio crackled again. "Life Flight 72. You are ordered to return to the landing zone immediately. You are interfering with a Forest Service operation." Marina grabbed the radio. "This is Dr. Whitfield. I have a critical patient who needs immediate medical attention. We are proceeding to Denver General Hospital." "Dr. Whitfield, you are harboring dangerous wildlife without proper permits. Return immediately, or we will be forced to contact the authorities." Marina looked at Jake, who was focused on flying but clearly listening to every word. "What do you think?" she asked him. Jake was quiet for a moment, then spoke without taking his eyes off the controls. "In 30 years of flying rescue missions, I've learned to trust the judgment of the medical personnel I work with. If you say we need to keep going, then we keep going." Marina felt a surge of gratitude for her pilot's faith in her. She keyed the radio one more time. "Forest Service, we are continuing to Denver General. My patient cannot wait for your wildlife assessment." She switched off the radio and looked back at David Chen. His color was slightly better, and his breathing seemed more stable. Samuel was doing an excellent job monitoring his condition. The cub in her arms shifted slightly, and Marina looked down to see it looking up at her with bright, alert eyes. There was something almost human about the intelligence she saw there. Something that reminded her of the look she sometimes saw in the eyes of very young children when they were trying to communicate something important. "What are you trying to tell me, little one?" she whispered. As if in response, the cub made a soft sound and lifted its uninjured paw to touch Marina's hand. The gesture was so deliberate, so purposeful, that Marina felt tears forming in her eyes again. From the cargo bay, the mother bear made a series of sounds that seemed almost like words. Marina had the strangest feeling that the bear was trying to thank her. "Jake, how long until we reach Denver?" she asked. "About 40 minutes at this speed, but Marina, what are we going to do when we get there?" We can't exactly wheel a family of bears into the emergency room. Marina had been thinking about the same problem. I'm going to call Sarah Chen and have her meet us at the landing pad. She can take custody of the bears while we get David into surgery. She pulled out her satellite phone and dialed Sarah's number. The veterinarian answered on the second ring. Marina? Please tell me you found David. We found him, Sarah. He's alive, but he's in critical condition. We're flying him to Denver General right now. Thank God. How bad is he hurt? Marina hesitated. Head injury and a broken leg. He's stable, but needs surgery. Sarah, there's something else. We're also bringing 2 bears. What? Marina, what are you talking about? It's a long story, but the short version is that a mother bear and her cub were injured in the same incident that hurt David. The mother bear actually protected David until we could get to him. We couldn't leave them behind. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Marina, are you telling me that you have wild bears in a medical helicopter? Yes, and we need your help. Someone called the Forest Service and tried to have the bears destroyed. I think David discovered something about illegal wildlife activity, and someone tried to silence him. Sarah was quiet for another moment. Where are you landing? Helipad at Denver General in about 35 minutes. I'll be there with a wildlife transport vehicle. Marina, this is incredibly dangerous. Even if these bears seem docile now, they're still wild animals. I know the risks, Sarah, but these aren't ordinary bears. You'll understand when you see them. Marina ended the call and looked around the helicopter cabin. David Chen was stable. The cub was calm in her arms, and she could hear the mother bear making soft, reassuring sounds from the cargo bay. Despite the chaos and uncertainty of their situation, Marina felt a strange sense of peace. She had made decisions today that went against her training, her protocols, and probably several laws. But looking at the injured cub in her arms and thinking about the incredible intelligence and compassion the mother bear had shown, Marina knew she had made the right choice. The helicopter continued its flight toward Denver, carrying its unusual cargo toward an uncertain future. Behind them, the Forest Service helicopter had given up the pursuit, but Marina knew this was far from over. Someone had tried to eliminate David and the bears, and they would probably try again. As they flew over the Colorado mountains, Marina found herself wondering what David had discovered about these bears that someone was willing to kill to keep secret, and more importantly, what would happen to the bear family now that they had become involved in what was clearly a much larger and more dangerous situation than a simple rescue mission. The cub in her arms made another soft sound, and Marina looked down to see it watching her with those impossibly intelligent eyes. She had the strange feeling that the little bear was trying to prepare her for whatever came next. 20 minutes into their flight, David Chen began to stir. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused, but he was conscious for the first time since they had found him. David, Marina called softly, leaning over him while still holding the cub. Can you hear me? You're safe now. We're taking you to the hospital. David's eyes moved slowly around the helicopter cabin, taking in the medical equipment. Samuel monitoring his vitals, and finally settling on Marina. When he saw the bear cub in her arms, his eyes went wide with alarm. No, he whispered, his voice barely audible over the helicopter noise. You don't understand. They're not ordinary bears. Marina felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean, David? What happened up there? David tried to sit up, but Samuel gently pushed him back down. Easy there, Samuel said. You've got a serious head injury. You need to stay still. You have to listen, David insisted, his voice growing stronger despite his injuries. The bears, They're part of a government experiment. Project Kodiak. I was documenting it when they found me. Marina exchanged glances with Samuel. Who found you, David? Military contractors, private security. They've been using this remote area to test enhanced intelligence protocols on wildlife. The bears you saved aren't just smart, they've been genetically modified. The cub in Marina's arms seemed to understand that David was talking about them. It made a soft sound and reached out with its uninjured paw toward David. The gesture was so human-like that Marina felt her heart skip a beat. That's Luna, David said, seeing the cub's reaction. The mother is Sage. I've been studying them for 3 months. Marina, these bears can understand human language, not just commands, but actual conversation. Their cognitive abilities are off the charts. From the cargo bay, they heard Sage make a series of sounds that were definitely not random bear noises. The pattern was too complex, too structured. It sounded almost like she was responding to hearing her name. This is impossible, Samuel muttered. Genetic modification doesn't work that fast. You can't just enhance an animal's intelligence overnight. David shook his head weakly. Not overnight. This project has been going on for years. They've been breeding multiple generations, selecting for intelligence and using some kind of neural enhancement technology. Sage is 3rd generation. Luna is 4th. Marina felt like the world was spinning around her. Why? Why would anyone do this? Military applications, enhanced reconnaissance, search and rescue, even combat support. Bears with human-level intelligence that can follow complex orders, communicate with handlers, and operate in environments where humans can't survive. Jake's voice came through the headset from the pilot's seat. That would explain why the Forest Service was so eager to intercept us. If this is a classified military project, they can't afford to have these bears examined by civilian veterinarians. Luna, the cub, made another soft sound and looked directly at Marina. The intelligence in those eyes was unmistakable now that Marina knew what she was looking for. This wasn't just a smart animal. This was something approaching human consciousness trapped in a bear's body. How did you get injured? Marina asked David. And how did Luna get hurt? David's expression darkened. I discovered that they weren't just experimenting on the bears. They were planning to terminate the entire project. Too many variables, too much risk of exposure. They were going to eliminate all the test subjects and destroy the research. Marina felt sick. Eliminate? You mean kill them? All of them. Dozens of bears across multiple test sites. I tried to document what they were doing to get evidence, but they caught me. When I tried to run, I fell down a ravine. Luna must have been trying to help me when she got her paw caught in one of their tracking devices. The pieces were falling into place now, and the picture they formed was horrifying. A secret military project, enhanced intelligent bears, and a cover-up that included attempted murder. The anonymous tip to the Forest Service, Marina said. That was them, wasn't it? They were hoping the Rangers would tranquilize or shoot the bears before anyone could discover what they really are. David nodded weakly. Dr. Harrison Wade is running the project. He's got military backing and unlimited funding. He'll do whatever it takes to keep this secret. Samuel was monitoring David's vitals, but Marina could see he was also listening to every word. David, do you have any proof of this? Documentation, photos, anything? My camera, David said. It should still be up there somewhere near where you found me. I managed to hide the memory cards before they caught me. But Marina, you have to understand. If Wade discovers that you've rescued Sage and Luna, he'll come after all of you. As if she had heard her name again, Sage made a sound from the cargo bay that was unmistakably mournful. Luna responded with a soft chirp, and Marina realized she was witnessing a conversation between mother and daughter. "They know we're talking about them," Marina said in amazement. "They actually understand." "More than you realize," David said. "Sage has a vocabulary of over 200 words. Luna is still learning, but she's already demonstrating problem-solving abilities that rival a human child. Marina, what you're holding isn't just a bear cub, it's a sentient being." Marina looked down at Luna, who was watching her with those incredible eyes. The cub reached up with her good paw and gently touched Marina's face, a gesture so tender and human-like that Marina felt tears streaming down her cheeks. "What are we going to do?" she whispered. "We can't just hand them over to a veterinarian. If this Dr. Wade is as dangerous as you say—" "Sarah," David said suddenly, "you called my sister, didn't you?" "Marina, Sarah doesn't know about the project, but she's been asking questions about unusual wildlife activity in the area. Wade's people have been watching her too." Marina felt a new wave of panic. "She's meeting us at the hospital. If Wade's people are monitoring her—" Jake's voice came through the headset again, but this time it was tense with concern. "We've got company, 3 black helicopters, military style, approaching from the east. They're moving fast." Marina looked out the window and saw them. Sleek, unmarked aircraft that definitely weren't part of any normal rescue operation. They were flying in formation and heading directly for their helicopter. "How did they find us so quickly?" Samuel asked. David struggled to sit up again. "Luna has a tracking chip. All the test subjects do. I tried to remove it, but I didn't have the right equipment." Marina examined the cub more carefully and found a small, hard lump under the fur on Luna's neck. It felt like a grain of rice, but she knew it was sophisticated tracking technology. "Can we remove it?" she asked. "Not without surgical tools," David replied, "and even then, it might be too dangerous. The chips are designed to be tamper-proof." The black helicopters were getting closer, and Marina could see that they were larger and more heavily armed than the Forest Service aircraft that had pursued them earlier. "Jake, can we outrun them?" Marina called. "Negative. Those look like military transports. They're probably faster and definitely have longer range than we do." Marina made a decision that surprised even herself. She keyed her radio to the emergency frequency. "This is Dr. Marina Whitfield aboard Life Flight 72. I am declaring a medical emergency and requesting immediate assistance from any available aircraft." A voice responded almost immediately. "Life Flight 72, this is Denver Control. What is the nature of your emergency?" "We are being pursued by unidentified military aircraft while transporting a critical patient. We require immediate escort to Denver General Hospital." There was a pause, then, "Life Flight 72, can you confirm you are being pursued by military aircraft?" Marina looked out the window again. The black helicopters were close enough now that she could see armed personnel inside them. "Confirmed, Denver Control. 3 unmarked military helicopters in pursuit formation. Life Flight 72, we are scrambling Air National Guard units to provide escort. Maintain your current heading and altitude." David was listening to the radio exchange with obvious amazement. "Marina, you just escalated this into a federal incident. Wade won't be able to cover this up now." "Good," Marina replied firmly. "If these bears are as intelligent as you say they are, then what's being done to them is wrong. No sentient being should be used as a laboratory experiment." Luna made a soft sound and snuggled closer to Marina, as if she understood that the humans were trying to protect her. From the cargo bay, Sage's sounds became more frequent and urgent, clearly communicating with her daughter. Samuel was still monitoring David's condition, But he was also watching the interaction between Marina and Luna with fascination. "This is changing everything we know about animal consciousness," he said quietly. "That's exactly why Wade wants them destroyed," David replied. "If the public knew that we could create animals with human-level intelligence, the ethical implications would shut down his entire program." Jake's voice came through the headset again. "I can see F-16s approaching from the south. Looks like the Air National Guard is taking this seriously." Marina felt a surge of hope. If military jets were being scrambled, it meant that someone in authority was taking their situation seriously. The black helicopters wouldn't be able to attack them with Air Force fighters providing escort. But even as she thought this, her radio crackled with a new voice, calm, authoritative, and coldly threatening. "Dr. Whitfield, this is Dr. Harrison Wade. You are in possession of classified government property. Land immediately, or face federal prosecution for theft of military assets." Marina keyed her radio. "Dr. Wade, I am transporting an injured patient and 2 wounded animals to medical facilities. I will not be landing until we reach our destination." "Dr. Whitfield, you don't understand the situation. Those animals are dangerous. They have been subjected to experimental procedures that have made them unpredictable and potentially violent. For your own safety, you must surrender them immediately." Marina looked down at Luna, who was resting peacefully in her arms, then thought about Sage, who had protected an injured human for hours in the wilderness. "Dr. Wade, the only dangerous thing I see here is someone who would experiment on sentient beings and then try to murder them to cover it up." There was a long pause before Wade responded, and when he did, his voice was ice cold. "Dr. Whitfield, you have just made a very serious mistake." The black helicopters had stopped their direct pursuit, probably because of the approaching F-16s, but they were still following at a distance. Marina knew this was far from over. David was looking more alert now, probably due to the adrenaline of their situation. "Marina, you need to understand something else. Sage and Luna aren't the only enhanced bears. There are dozens of them at facilities across the country. If Wade can't retrieve these 2 quietly, he might decide to eliminate all the evidence." "What do you mean?" "Mass termination of all test subjects. He's got the authorization to do it if the project is compromised. Marina, by saving Sage and Luna, you might have just signed the death warrant for every enhanced bear in the program." Marina felt the weight of that responsibility, but when she looked down at Luna's trusting eyes, she knew she couldn't have made any other choice. "Then we make sure their story gets told. We make sure the world knows what's being done to them." The F-16s had reached them now, sleek fighters flying escort formation around their medical helicopter. Marina had never been so happy to see military aircraft in her life. Jake's voice was filled with relief. "Denver Control, this is Life Flight 72. We have visual confirmation of Air National Guard escort. Thank you for the assistance. Life Flight 72, you are cleared for direct approach to Denver General. The black helicopters have been ordered to maintain distance." As they began their descent toward Denver, Marina realized that landing at the hospital was just the beginning of their problems. They still had to figure out how to protect Sage and Luna from a government program that wanted them dead, and somehow expose a classified military project without ending up in federal prison themselves. Luna made a soft sound and looked up at Marina with those incredible, intelligent eyes. In that moment, Marina made a promise to the little bear and to herself. No matter what happened next, she would not let these remarkable beings be destroyed by human greed and fear. The city of Denver spread out below them, and Marina could see the hospital's helipad growing larger as they approached. Sarah Chen would be waiting for them, but Marina wondered if David's sister had any idea what she was about to become involved in. As they prepared to land, Marina noticed something else that made her heart race. Several black SUVs were parked around the hospital perimeter, and men in dark suits were positioning themselves near the helipad. Wade's people were already there, waiting for them. "David," she said urgently, "they're already at the hospital." David looked out the window and saw what she was seeing. "Marina, the moment you land, Wade's people will claim jurisdiction. They'll take Sage and Luna, and you'll never see them again." Marina looked around the helicopter cabin, at the injured man who had risked his life to expose the truth, at the mother bear who had shown incredible compassion, and at the cub who had learned to trust humans despite everything that had been done to her. "Then we don't land," she said suddenly. Jake's voice came through the headset. "What do you mean, we don't land?" "Marina, David needs surgery and we're almost out of fuel." Marina was thinking fast, her mind racing through possibilities. "Jake, is there another medical facility we can reach? Somewhere Wade's people won't be expecting us." "There's the veterinary hospital at Colorado State University," Samuel suggested. "It's about another 20 minutes north, and they have trauma facilities for both humans and animals." Marina made her decision. "Jake, change course for CSU. We're going to land where we can get help for everyone, not just hand them over to people who want to kill them." As Jake banked the helicopter toward the north, Marina could see the black SUVs at Denver General moving quickly, obviously realizing that their quarry was not going to land as expected. Luna seemed to sense the tension in the cabin. She made a soft sound and reached up to touch Marina's face again, a gesture that now carried the weight of intelligence and understanding. This little bear knew that her life hung in the balance, and she was trusting Marina to save her. Marina held Luna closer and looked out at the Colorado landscape passing below them. They were flying toward an uncertain future, but they were flying toward it together, human and bear, united in their fight for survival and truth. As they approached Colorado State University, Marina's satellite phone rang. The caller ID showed Sarah Chen's number, but when Marina answered, it wasn't Sarah's voice on the other end. "Dr. Whitfield, this is Agent Rebecca Martinez with the FBI. Dr. Chen is currently in protective custody. We've been investigating Project Kodiak for the past 6 months." Marina felt a surge of relief mixed with confusion. "FBI? How did you know about the project?" "We received intelligence about illegal human experimentation connected to the Animal Enhancement Program. Dr. Chen contacted us 3 weeks ago with concerns about her brother's safety. When David disappeared, we knew Wade had escalated his operations." Jake was circling the veterinary hospital, looking for a safe place to land. Marina could see several black vehicles in the parking areas, but she also noticed what appeared to be federal agents in FBI jackets setting up a perimeter. "Agent Martinez, are those your people at the veterinary hospital?" "Affirmative. We've secured the landing zone. Dr. Whitfield, what you've done today has provided us with the evidence we needed to shut down Project Kodiak permanently." Marina looked down at Luna, who was listening to the conversation with obvious interest. The cub's head tilted as she followed the voices, and Marina realized that Luna was actually understanding the words being spoken. "There's something else you need to know," Marina told the agent. "These bears aren't just enhanced, they're truly sentient. Luna here is following our conversation and understanding what we're saying." There was a pause on the line. "Dr. Whitfield, are you certain about that?" Before Marina could answer, Luna made a series of soft sounds that were clearly structured like speech. From the cargo bay, Sage responded with her own complex vocalizations. The conversation between mother and cub was unmistakable. Agent Martinez, I'm listening to a mother and daughter having a conversation in a language we don't understand. These beings have developed their own communication system. David, who had been quiet during the phone call, suddenly spoke up. Luna, can you say hello to the agent? Luna looked at the phone, then made a sound that was remarkably close to heh-oh. Not perfect, but clearly an attempt to mimic human speech. Agent Martinez was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Whitfield, we're going to need extensive documentation of everything you've observed. This changes the entire scope of our investigation. Jake brought the helicopter down on the veterinary hospital's emergency landing pad. As soon as they touched down, FBI agents approached the aircraft, but their posture was protective rather than threatening. Agent Martinez was waiting for them, a woman in her 40s with intelligent eyes and a professional demeanor. She approached the helicopter carefully as Marina emerged with Luna still in her arms. Dr. Whitfield, I'm Agent Martinez. Let's get everyone to safety and sort it out. Marina looked around the landing area. What about Doctor? Wade? His people were following us. Dr. Wade is currently being arrested at his facility in Wyoming. We raided 3 Project Kodiak sites simultaneously. However, we have reason to believe there are other facilities we haven't located yet. A team of veterinarians from the university was approaching with a specialized animal transport cart for Sage. Marina watched nervously as they opened the cargo bay, unsure how the mother bear would react to more strangers. To everyone's amazement, Sage calmly walked out of the helicopter and onto the transport cart, as if she understood that these people were there to help her. She made a soft sound toward Luna, who responded from Marina's arms. They're coordinating, Agent Martinez observed. The mother is telling her cub that it's safe. Dr. Emily Reeves, the head veterinarian, was staring at the bears in obvious amazement. In 30 years of veterinary practice, I've never seen wild animals behave like this. Their body language, their vocalizations, it's almost human. Because their cognitive abilities are almost human, David said as he was transferred to a medical stretcher. Dr. Reeves, these bears have been engineered to have intelligence levels that rival our own. What you're seeing isn't just smart animal behavior, it's actual reasoning and communication. Dr. Reeves knelt down next to the transport cart where Sage was lying calmly. Hello, Sage, she said softly. I'm going to help take care of your injuries. Sage looked directly at Dr. Reeves and made a sound that was clearly acknowledgement. Then she extended her uninjured paw toward the veterinarian in what could only be described as a handshake gesture. Dr. Reeves was visibly shaken by the interaction. This is incredible. She's actually trying to communicate with me. Marina was still holding Luna, who seemed content to stay in her arms. The cub had developed an obvious attachment to her, and Marina found herself equally attached to the little bear. Agent Martinez, Marina said. What's going to happen to Sage and Luna now? They can't just be treated like normal wildlife. That's one of the biggest questions we're facing, the agent replied. Legally, they're still classified as animals, but ethically, if they truly have human-level intelligence, they do, David said firmly from his stretcher. I've documented it extensively. Sage can understand complex instructions, solve multi-step problems, and even show signs of teaching Luna abstract concepts. They're not just smart animals. They're a new form of intelligent life. Dr. Reeves was examining Sage's injuries while the bear lay perfectly still, allowing the examination. Her cooperation is remarkable. It's like she understands that I'm trying to help her. Because she does understand, Marina said. Luna, show Dr. Reeves your injured paw. Luna looked at Marina, then carefully extended her broken paw toward Dr. Reeves. The gesture was deliberate and trusting, showing an understanding of the request that went far beyond simple animal training. Dr. Reeves was quiet for a moment, then looked up at the group. "I need to call in my colleagues. This is beyond anything we've ever encountered. These bears are going to need specialized care that takes into account their cognitive abilities." Agent Martinez's radio crackled with incoming messages. She listened for a moment, then turned to the group with a serious expression. "We've located 2 more Project Kodiak facilities, but there's a problem. Dr. Wade apparently had a contingency plan. Before his arrest, he activated something called Protocol 7. David's face went white. Protocol 7 is the mass termination protocol. He's ordering the elimination of all remaining test subjects. Marina felt sick. "How many bears are we talking about?" "Based on our intelligence, possibly 60 to 80 enhanced bears across multiple facilities," Agent Martinez replied. "We're trying to reach the sites, but Wade's people have a head start." Luna made a distressed sound, and Sage responded with urgent vocalizations from her transport cart. Marina realized that the bears somehow understood what was being discussed. "They know," Marina said in amazement. "They understand that other bears like them are in danger." David nodded weakly. "The enhanced bears can sense each other. It's part of the neural modifications. Sage and Luna can probably feel the distress of the other bears in the network." Agent Martinez was already on her radio, coordinating with other FBI teams. "All units, this is Martinez. Protocol 7 is active. Repeat, the targets are implementing mass termination procedures. All teams move immediately." Dr. Reeves was listening to the radio chatter while examining Luna's injured paw. "Agent Martinez, if these bears can sense each other, could they help us locate the other facilities?" Everyone looked at Sage, who had been listening to the conversation with obvious concern. Agent Martinez approached the transport cart carefully. "Sage, can you help us find the other bears, the ones who are in danger?" Sage looked at the agent for a long moment, then made a series of complex sounds. She extended her paw and began making gestures, pointing in different directions while making different vocalizations. "She's trying to tell us where they are," Marina realized. "The different sounds probably correspond to different groups or locations." David was watching Sage's gestures intently. The pointing, I think she's indicating geographical directions. North, northwest, southwest. She's giving us the locations of the other facilities. Agent Martinez was taking notes on Sage's indications. "Even if this is accurate, we'd need more specific information to coordinate rescue operations." Luna made a soft sound from Marina's arms, then began making her own series of vocalizations. The sounds were different from her mother's, more high-pitched and rapid. "Luna's adding information," David said excitedly. "The younger bears in the program were used for different types of testing. She might know things about the facilities that Sage doesn't." Dr. Reeves was watching the interaction between mother and cub with growing amazement. "They're having a strategy session. They're actually planning how to help us rescue the other bears." Sage made another series of sounds, and Luna responded immediately. Then the cub looked directly at Agent Martinez and made a sound that was remarkably close to hurry. Agent Martinez stared at Luna in shock. "Did she just tell us to hurry?" "She did," Marina said, feeling tears in her eyes. "She knows that time is running out for the other bears, and she's trying to help us save them." Agent Martinez was already back on her radio, relaying Sage's geographical information to the other FBI teams. "We're going to need helicopter support and SWAT teams for simultaneous raids on multiple facilities." Dr. Reeves had finished her preliminary examination of both bears. Sage has several lacerations and some bruising, but nothing life-threatening. Luna's paw is definitely broken, but it's a clean break that should heal well with proper treatment. However, I'd like to keep them both for observation. Marina looked down at Luna, who was still resting comfortably in her arms. Agent Martinez, what's the legal status of Sage and Luna? Are they considered evidence? Property of the government? That's complicated, the agent replied. Technically, they were created using government resources for a classified project. But if they truly have human-level intelligence, there are constitutional questions about whether they can be considered property at all. David was being prepared for transport to the human hospital for surgery, but he was still focused on the bears. Agent Martinez, you have to understand, Sage and Luna aren't just intelligent. They're individuals with personalities, emotions, and relationships. They love each other, they trust certain humans, and they're capable of making their own decisions. Which raises the question, Dr. Reeves said quietly, of whether they should have the right to make their own decisions about their future. Marina looked around the group. The FBI agent, the veterinarian, the injured researcher, and the helicopter crew who had risked their careers to help. What if we asked them? What if we gave Sage and Luna a choice about what happens next? Agent Martinez looked skeptical. Dr. Whitfield, even if they could understand the question, how would they communicate their answer? Marina turned to Sage, who was watching the conversation intently. Sage, you've been listening to us talk about your future and Luna's future. Do you understand that you have choices now? Sage made a soft sound and nodded, an unmistakably human gesture that made everyone in the group take a step back in amazement. She nodded, Dr. Reeves whispered. She actually nodded in response to a complex question. Marina continued. Sage, you could go to a wildlife sanctuary where you and Luna would be safe and cared for. Or you could stay here at the university where researchers could study your abilities while treating you as the intelligent being you are. Or ... Marina paused, unsure if she should voice the third option. Luna made a questioning sound, and Marina realized the cub was asking her to continue. Or you could help us save the other bears? You could work with the FBI to locate the remaining facilities and help rescue the other enhanced bears. Sage was quiet for a long moment, clearly considering the options. Then she looked at Luna, and the two bears had what was obviously a discussion in their complex vocalization system. Finally, Sage looked directly at Agent Martinez and made a sound that was clearly an attempt at human speech. Help. Others. Agent Martinez stared at the bear in amazement. She wants to help rescue the other bears. Luna added her own vocalization that sounded like, save family. Marina felt tears streaming down her cheeks. These remarkable beings, who had every reason to fear and distrust humans after what had been done to them, were choosing to risk their own safety to help save others of their kind. Agent Martinez, Marina said firmly, I want to volunteer to stay with Sage and Luna during any rescue operations. They trust me, and if they're going to help with this mission, they should have an advocate with them. Dr. Whitfield, this could be dangerous. We're talking about armed raids on government facilities. Marina looked down at Luna, who was watching her with those incredible, trusting eyes. Agent Martinez, these bears have already shown more courage and compassion than most humans I know. If they're willing to risk everything to save their family, then I'm willing to risk everything to protect them. Dr. Reeves stepped forward. I'd like to volunteer as well. If we're going to treat these bears as the intelligent beings they are, They deserve to have medical advocates who understand their unique needs. Agent Martinez looked around the group, then at Sage and Luna, who were watching the conversation with obvious understanding. This is completely outside any protocol I've ever followed, but I think you're right. If we're asking them to help us, we owe them our protection in return. She keyed her radio again. FBI Command, this is Agent Martinez. I need to speak with Director Chen immediately. We're going to need to modify our operational parameters. As the sun began to set over the Colorado mountains, Marina realized that they were about to embark on something unprecedented in human history, a cooperative mission between humans and truly intelligent animals to save others of their kind from destruction. Luna made a soft sound and snuggled closer to Marina, a gesture of trust that carried the weight of an entire species' future. Whatever happened next, Marina knew that her life had been forever changed by these remarkable beings who had taught her that intelligence and compassion could exist in forms she had never imagined. The rescue mission was about to begin, and Marina Whitfield found herself at the center of a story that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about consciousness, intelligence, and the bonds that could exist between different species. 3 months later, Marina stood in the morning sunlight outside the newly established Enhanced Wildlife Sanctuary in Montana. The facility was unlike anything the world had ever seen, a place where enhanced bears could live freely while choosing their own level of interaction with human researchers and caretakers. Luna, now fully grown and walking confidently on her healed paw, approached Marina with the same trust she had shown that first day in the helicopter. But now Luna could speak simple words in English, and her vocabulary grew every day. "Marina," Luna said carefully, the words still requiring effort but filled with unmistakable affection. "Good morning." Marina knelt down to Luna's level, as she did every morning. "Good morning, Luna. How are you feeling today?" "Happy," Luna replied, then added a series of vocalizations in the complex language the enhanced bears had developed among themselves. From across the meadow, Sage approached with 3 other adult bears, survivors from the facilities they had helped the FBI locate. The rescue missions had been successful beyond anyone's hopes. Of the 78 enhanced bears in the program, they had saved 61. The others had been terminated before the FBI could reach them, but their sacrifice had not been in vain. Dr. Harrison Wade was serving a life sentence for crimes against sentient beings, a new legal category that had been created specifically for cases involving the enhanced bears. His program had been dismantled, and all research into forced enhancement of animal intelligence had been banned worldwide. Sage walked up to Marina and made her now familiar greeting sound. Over the months, Marina had learned to understand much of the bear's language, and Sage had learned enough English to hold basic conversations. "Sage, how are the new bears adjusting?" Marina asked. "Scared, still," Sage replied slowly. "But learning, trust." The 3 bears with Sage were recent arrivals from a facility in Alaska that had been discovered just weeks ago. They were still traumatized from their experiences, but Sage and Luna had taken on the role of helping them heal and adapt to their new freedom. Marina looked around the sanctuary, where enhanced bears roamed freely through forests and meadows, some choosing to interact with human researchers, others preferring to live quietly with their own kind. It was a peaceful place, funded by the government as part of the settlement for the illegal experimentation program. Dr. Emily Reeves approached from the research building, carrying a tablet with the morning's observations. "Marina, you need to see this. Bear 73 has started writing." Marina felt her heart skip a beat. Bear 73 was one of the most enhanced individuals in the program, a bear named Atlas, who had been subjected to the most advanced neural modifications. Writing? In what language? both. He's created a written form of the bear's vocal language, and he's also learning to write English words. Marina. He's not just communicating, he's creating literature. They walked together toward the research building, where Atlas was sitting at a specially designed desk, carefully forming letters and symbols on paper with a modified stylus held in his massive paw. "Atlas," Marina said softly as they approached, "Dr. Reeves tells me you're writing." Atlas looked up from his work, his intelligent eyes meeting Marina's. "Writing story," he said in carefully pronounced English. "Story of bears who learned to be free." Marina felt tears forming in her eyes as she looked at the pages Atlas had filled. Some were covered with the complex symbols of the bear's own language, others with carefully formed English words telling the story of their captivity and rescue. "Would you like to share your story with the world?" Marina asked. Atlas was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. "World should know. Bears have thoughts, have feelings, have rights." Behind them, Luna had followed them into the building with Sage. The young bear had grown not just physically, but intellectually, showing problem-solving abilities that amazed everyone who worked with her. "Luna, would you like to help Atlas tell your story?" Marina asked. Luna made an excited sound, then said clearly, "Yes, tell people. Bears are friends, not experiments." Agent Martinez, who had become a regular visitor to the sanctuary, entered the building with a smile on her face. "I have news. The International Court of Justice has agreed to hear a case about the legal rights of enhanced intelligent species. Atlas's writings will be presented as evidence." Marina looked around at the bears she had come to know as individuals. Sage with her maternal wisdom, Luna with her curious intelligence, Atlas with his artistic soul, and dozens of others, each with their own personality and dreams. "Agent Martinez, what are the chances of success?" "With the evidence we have, and with witnesses like these incredible beings, I think we have a very good chance of establishing legal protections for all enhanced intelligent species." Luna tugged gently on Marina's sleeve, a gesture she had learned from watching human children. "Marina, will you stay? Always?" Marina knelt down and looked into Luna's eyes, those same remarkable eyes that had first captured her heart in a helicopter high above the Colorado wilderness. "Luna, this is my home now. You're my family. I'm not going anywhere." Sage approached and made a sound that Marina had learned meant gratitude. Then the mother bear did something she had never done before. She gently wrapped her massive arms around Marina in what could only be called a hug. "Thank you," Sage said in English, the words clear despite her accent. "You saved more than lives. You saved souls." As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the research building, Marina watched Luna and Atlas working together on a new page of their story. Other bears were gathered around, contributing their own memories and experiences to the growing manuscript. Dr. Reeves was documenting everything. But Marina knew that the real importance of what was happening here couldn't be captured in research notes. They were witnessing the birth of a new relationship between species, one based on mutual respect and understanding rather than dominance and exploitation. Jake appeared in the doorway, still wearing his pilot's uniform. He had become the official transport pilot for the sanctuary, helping to bring new bears to safety and taking researchers to conferences around the world where they shared the story of the enhanced bears. "Marina, we've got another rescue mission. They found a facility in Canada with 5 bears who were thought to be deceased. Are you ready for another flight?" Marina looked at Luna, who had overheard the conversation. The young bear immediately made excited sounds and ran to get her travel harness. She had insisted on accompanying every rescue mission to help comfort the newly freed bears. Ready, Marina said, feeling the same rush of purpose she had felt that first day when they discovered Sage pointing her snout at their helicopter. As they prepared to leave for another rescue mission, Marina reflected on how much had changed since that morning in the Colorado wilderness. She had started the day as a doctor trying to save one injured hiker. She was ending this chapter of her life as an advocate for an entirely new form of intelligent life. Luna approached with her harness, looking up at Marina with excitement and determination. "Save more family?" she asked hopefully. "Yes, Luna," Marina replied, adjusting the harness that had been specially designed for the young bear. "We're going to save more family." Sage touched Marina's shoulder gently with her paw. "We go together," she said, "always together." As they walked toward the helicopter together, human and bear united in their mission to save others, Marina realized that sometimes the most extraordinary journeys begin with a single act of compassion. A mother bear had pointed her snout at a helicopter and changed the world. The helicopter lifted off from the sanctuary, carrying Marina, Luna, and Sage toward their next rescue mission. Below them, the enhanced wildlife sanctuary spread out like a promise of what the future could hold when different species learned to see each other not as experiments or resources, but as family. In the distance, the sun was setting over the Montana mountains, painting the sky in brilliant colors that seemed to celebrate the remarkable bonds that had formed between species who had learned that intelligence, love, and courage could transcend any boundary. Luna pressed her face against the helicopter window, watching the landscape pass below. "Beautiful," she said in her careful English, then added in her own language something that Marina had learned meant home. Marina smiled and held Luna's paw as they flew toward their next adventure, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The doctor who had learned that healing could take many forms, and the bear family who had taught her that love and intelligence could flourish in the most unexpected places. The story that had begun with the mother bear's desperate plea for help had become something much larger, a testament to the power of compassion to change the world, one rescued life at a time.